Hello, families, and welcome to our Autism Exploration Series. I'm Emily Hanson, a Regional Director at Rural Beginnings, and Rural Beginnings' mission is to change lives for our clients, families, and our professionals. We do that through our pledge of care, our promise to you to provide effective treatment through compassionate care. We also strive to achieve our mission through our core values, and one of our core values is education. So teaching families valuable ways to work with your child. That's why we decided to start these series. Additionally, you'll see the seals of Behavioral Health Center of Excellence and the seal from Autism Commission of Quality. And these seals represent the hard work and focus that we place to ensure that BB is providing quality care through the highest standards. Next slide, please. I also wanted to take this opportunity to introduce you to the services that we offer here at Rural Beginnings. In addition to our in-home and center-based ABA services, we also offer diagnostic services, feeding therapy, and social skills programming. And we encourage you to participate with us today throughout the presentation by using the Q&A feature found at the bottom of your screen. We also offer closed captioning during this recording, which you can access by navigating to the bottom of your screen. Click the closed captioning button that should be there on the bottom. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our presenter of the evening, Lindsay Keller.
Hi, everybody. My name is Lindsay Keller, and I wanted to thank you for joining us today to discuss AAC, Augmentative Alternative Communication. I am the Solutions Consultant for Tobii Dyanvox, and I have been working with Tobii Dyanvox since 2022. As the Solutions Consultant, I work with adult and pediatric clients and help SLPs facilitate the process to helping their families receive a communication device. Prior to joining Tobii Dynavox, I was an SLP and I practiced both in the school systems, in early intervention, and also with adult clients. We already know how extremely important it is to be able to communicate. Communication is what connects us to everything in our lives. Having control over choice, sharing our thoughts and needs, learning and growing, and of course, maintaining close relationships. They're also crucial for our social and emotional well-being. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on communication and learn ways that we communicate. After we learn those ways we communicate, we will go over an overview of augmentative and alternative communication. And then finally, we will review funding and how easy Tobii Dynavox makes it to receive a speech communication device. Our mission is to make groundbreaking assistive technology and communication solutions to give people with disabilities a voice. We're going to watch a brief video to explain a little bit about the Tobii Dynavox mission.
Currently, there are tens of millions of people worldwide who have difficulty communicating using natural speech. This leads to feelings of frustration, isolation, and even sadness. Do you know someone who is struggling with communication? Is your loved one recovering in the hospital after a stroke and having difficulty communicating with hospital staff? Do you know someone with ALS who tires easily when speaking and knows that someday they may be unable to speak? Are you a parent of a child who can't communicate their feelings, talk about a favorite book, tell you what they want, or discuss their day because they only have a few words? Or are you a parent of a child who doesn't speak at all? You might be working with a medical team looking for answers and just don't know what the future holds for your child's communication. Are you an educator with a child in your class who is struggling with school activities or who can't access the curriculum? Do you know someone with autism who has trouble interacting with their peers and just wants to be part of the group? Or do you support someone who has trouble following directions and often acts out? If any of these scenarios sound familiar to you, AAC can help. Augmentative and Alternative Communication, or AAC, can help people access their right to communicate. So what is AAC? There are many types of AAC, ranging from use of sign language and facial expression, all the way through to using high-tech devices like an i110 device and the iSeries that you see here. So if you or someone you know cannot reliably use speech to communicate in all aspects of life, there are many options available to support communication through the use of AAC. Whether you are a parent, educator, therapist, caregiver, or someone who has a communication disorder, we are here to help you. The Tobii Dyanvox Learning Hub will help guide you through getting started with AAC.
So as you see, we are a trusted partner you can count on for groundbreaking solutions that meet your changing needs. We also provide expert support with funding, questions, and training for a successful communication journey. As we learned, AAC is a tool, strategy, support, or any form of communication used in addition to or in place of spoken words. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to think about what are some ways to communicate besides spoken words. When we think of some other ways to communicate besides spoken words, we can think of gestures, emojis, body language, facial expressions, pointing, signing, and vocalizations, printed symbols and text that can be pointed to, or high-tech devices with multiple access methods. So who can benefit from AAC? People born with conditions such as autism, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, or intellectual or language disorders. These people need tools to learn and use language through a system-based communication system.
Dad, pick me up.
Brock is such a sweet, silly kid with so much energy.
Jump high.
He will jump and jump for hours if you let him.
Stingray.
We knew he had lots to say, but he had trouble getting his words out.
Yellow fish.
This was our first clue that he might be on the autism spectrum. When Brock started working with a speech therapist,
Spin me.
they recommended a communication device. The day he got his TD I-110, he was hooked. He takes it absolutely everywhere. Now, Brock shares exactly how he feels
I am thirsty.
and tells us exactly what he wants. His vocabulary has grown tremendously, and we love seeing our little man finally being able to speak his mind.
So Brock's experience has been life-changing, not only for him, but for everyone who loves and cares about him. His mom, his dad, Bo, and Emily each helped to nurture Brock's unique ways of communicating. Working with Emily at the center, Brock has become more outgoing and engaged in speech therapy. To encourage him to use his TD I-110 at home, his mom and dad frequently ask him questions that can be answered using familiar symbols. Bo often repeats what Brock says with his device to make sure his big brother feels heard. Now that Brock can speak his mind, his playful personality shines brighter than ever. So before we move on, I just want to look at a couple different statements and decide if they're fact or myth. So when you look at the first statement, AAC prevents someone from speaking, think in your head if that would be a fact or a myth. Actually, AAC can increase speech production. The goal of AAC is to serve as a communication tool for a time of need. That means it could also act as a backup when spoken language fails, or it could be a supplement to spoken language. This means that this would be a myth. When we look at the next one, sometimes AAC simply isn't worth it because it won't help. Let's think if that is a fact or a myth. We see that this is also a myth. People may assume that someone is too young, too impaired, or too old to communicate. But the truth is, we won't know what someone is capable of until they're given the option of AAC. The only prerequisite for communication is breathing. And finally, AAC should be a last resort only. You'll see here that this is also a myth. It's understandable that families may want to delay AAC until absolutely needed. However, AAC techniques require time to practice and learn, just like spoken language. So the sooner the better. So now that we've kind of reviewed a little bit about AAC, we're going to look at a few vocabulary words and how they can be incorporated into an AAC device. The first word that we're going to focus on is the core word of go. So to learn about what a core word is, I want you to take a moment and write down as many examples you can think of using the word go. It doesn't have to be a long sentence. It can even be just one or two words. I'm going to give you about 15 more seconds. So you'll see here are some of the many examples of how you can use the word go. Cargo or go car, go fast, go slow, me go, or using go as a question. You'll see here that this is a core word because we can use the word go across many different communication environments. That could be related to going outside or making the car go and playing with blocks. So this word is not only useful to learn for one context, but many different topics as well. Here's another core word. This core word is the word see. Let's do this again. I'm going to give you a couple less seconds, but think of as many examples you can using the word see. Great. So while we're learning about core words and what they are, we're also learning about where we can use them. I picked 3 different real-life scenarios you might have at home. Let's think about the word see and how we might use it when we're making or eating lunch, playing with blocks, or getting into our car and getting ready to go. So if we are at lunchtime, that same core word of see, there's many different ways we could use it. You could see juice, see mess, and things like that. Playing with blocks, you can see blocks, see orange, you see and I see. While getting into the car, you could see car, see trees, see friend, and see coming. You'll see here, this is one of the pages from our core first vocabulary set. Both of those words that we just spoke about are on here as well. The homepage of our core first AAC device has many of those core words on the homepage because they're so important for communication. They're so important for communication because once a user is able to learn and use that word, it can be applied to so many different situations. So they're great words to focus on outside of common verbs and nouns. You'll see on this slide that there are so many great strategies for teaching language. AAC, another kind of language, and AAC is just another kind of language. Just like it, we use verbal words. AAC users use their device or alternative communication to talk about the world around them. The same strategies we use to teach verbal language, we use to teach language with AAC. So we're going to go through 3 different strategies and talk about how we might use them. The first one is aided language stimulation. Then we'll move on to modeling and responding. Here's a short video explaining aided language stimulation.
Created using Powtoon.
So what that video depicts is the importance not only of Josie being able to use the AAC device to communicate, but also what a caregiver or what family members and therapists will be doing when modeling for the AAC device. So just like a kiddo who is a verbal communicator and they learn from hearing verbal language around them, someone who is using an AAC device to communicate needs that repeated practice and exposure as well. We can't expect them to be able to know where words are and learn what the function of those words are without having someone model it. Sometimes caregivers do find that something about this is a little bit more difficult or is a challenging process. This is because it's something that is new for the caregiver as well. What we encourage is that it's okay to need to investigate where words are. You don't always need to know where every single thing is on the device. And really, the best thing to do is practice. So modeling together where those words are, modeling as you verbally communicate, those are all great things to do to incorporate that language. In this video, we'll learn a little bit more about modeling with AAC.
Lots of things can go.
Good reading. Go.
Cars go.
They do. Cars go.
Trains go.
Trains go.
Trucks go.
Trucks go.
Boats go.
Philip, do boats go? They do. You're right. Boats go. Look at that.
Planes go.
Planes go.
Motorcycles go.
They do. They go.
What else do you know that can go?
Let's think about that. Philip, let's look at this. What other things can go?
Yeah.
Let's look at the word lists. And I think if we find this one with all the cars, it's called transportation. What are the things on here that go? Do you see anything? Do you see anything that might go?
Dad.
Car insurance.
Car insurance. Well, if you are going to go in a car, then you would need car insurance before you go. That's true. What about this one?
Airplane.
Airplane. Russell, do airplanes go?
Yeah.
They do. What about
Bus.
a bus? Does a bus go?
Car wash.
Car wash, yeah. If you go in your car and it gets really dirty, you should take it to the car wash and wash it all up. Give it a bath. That was really good reading, Russell. Thank you. That was a good book about things that go. Do you want to say thank you to Russell?
So you'll see here that both Russell and the mom were modeling different various things that go. You can also see that during this video, the user did at one point try to imitate the word go, which is really great to see, and kind of goes back to those myths and why we are not trying to take away any verbal language, but really using AAC as a support. And the final strategy that we'll talk about today is acknowledging, confirming, and responding.
Use your words, don't say
We need to stir it.
You're right.
Go ahead
Would
and
you
stir
turn
it.
around and do that?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bill. Use your spoon. Good, you stir. Here you go. Can I help you? Can I help you?
Yeah.
Here,
Now
you
it
do
smells good.
Yeah.
You take your
I
hand.
can hear the sizzle.
Yeah, put your hand with mine. There you go.
I can do it.
There you go.
Nice. You're doing it.
Good job, Will. Is that good?
Pizza.
We'll eat pizza on Sunday?
Part of this,
Yeah.
since you guys. So we'll. I mean, I think the theme would be just setting this up as you're doing something with them, and just.
You want to taste it
getting
already?
Yeah.
I know what you mean when you're so hungry. But I think it's probably not going to taste very good when it's frozen.
Taste it.
We gotta wait until it's cooked, buddy. Yeah.
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 This is hard.
Waiting is hard.
Waiting is always hard. It's hard for me sometimes.
It is almost done.
Yeah. It's almost done. Do you hear it? Do you hear the sound? That means it's cooking. It's getting to the part where it's really cooking now. Because you can wait.
can do it.
Yeah, you can wait.
I can do it.
That's
yeah,
exactly
you can
right.
do it.
I hear that sizzle, sizzle.
Yeah.
I'm not going to eat that.
Right.
All right,
Not
we're
until
gonna
it's
wait.
done. Were there other messages here?
So here you will see a family with their son, Will. He is using his device and his family is responding by acknowledging his messages, confirming they understand, and responding in order to validate what he's saying. How do you feel about the way that the family is communicating and how he is responding? Does this give you an idea on how to respond when your child uses a message? So now that we have kind of introduced AAC and seen some examples of both AAC devices, seeing those devices in action and how you can interact with your child using an AAC device, we're going to talk a little bit about a dedicated speech device and the process of getting a device funded through insurance. The first thing to think about is what is and why do we use a dedicated speech device? A dedicated speech device is billed through insurance as durable medical equipment. This means that it's more durable for communication needs no matter the environment. You'll see on our next slide that some of our devices even include Gorilla Glass. So if we have any kiddos who might drop things, they're going to school and putting the device in their backpack, or our devices have been thrown across the room, and because they are durable with that Gorilla Glass, it does not, it protects the device in case anything happens. So if we don't want a device to be constantly breaking where that user does not have their voice because it's in for repair or you do not have it anymore. The next thing about a dedicated device is it comes with nice loud speakers to be heard anytime. It might be that your home is very quiet, and this is not as much of a problem, but as your child or a user goes to school, think about when they're in a loud classroom or eating lunch in the cafeteria. It's really important then that their voice is able to be heard as well, so they can participate in classroom discussions and interact with their friends. It includes a longer battery life for communication all day, so they'll have their device all day long with them. There's purposeful designs for transporting and mounting. You'll see on the next slide how a lot of our devices have either a handle, so someone can carry the device around, or a kickstand in the back, so when they're working at their desk, it can be propped up. This is really nice, so then you can have your communication system propped on your desk, but it also leaves room for other activities as well, but it kind of sets it apart a little bit. The next nice thing is that it has improved warranties, training, and support for setup. If you do decide that an AAC device is right for you, and Tobii Dynavox language systems is a nice match. Those devices comes with warranties, training, and support. My role as a solutions consultant in Maryland is to provide any training that you would need or the school would need to be successful with the device. This does not mean that my services would be on an ongoing basis like a speech therapist, but more, we say about 2 to 3 hours of training when you first receive the device to be able to set it up and make sure that you're able to customize it for your own needs. But also down the line, if you have any questions, you can always feel free to reach out. We also do have a tech support team that's available Monday through Friday and some hours on Saturday. If anything happens to the device, we do have those warranties on the device, so you're able to send it in for a repair, and we can even ship you out a loaner device if that's needed while we fix whatever malfunctioned on it. And finally, you do receive a companion license for caregiver modeling and availability. Earlier, we learned why modeling is so important and how that modeling will increase the ability to use an AAC device. And having a companion license means that through the device being funded through insurance, you'll receive one additional copy of a device, not an actual device, but more a copy of the software that you could download onto your own tablet or iPad. That way, both you and the AAC user has their own device, and you're able to practice modeling with each other. You'll see here that these are some of our options for speech dedicated devices, the ones that Tobii Dyanvox does offer. On all of these devices, you'll see here, this is our Snap Core First homepage, like we spoke about with those core vocabulary words. That being said, there are a few other page sets that might support your user's needs better, but this is one of our main page sets that support the pediatric users. You'll see that there's different button sizes that can be used based on the ability to point to different buttons, and all of these pages are easily customizable, so you can include and add vocabulary that really fits your own need. When you look at these devices, you'll see the two devices on the left-hand side. The one here with the kickstand is called the TD-I-110. This is a Windows-based device. It has that durable Gorilla Glass that I spoke about. You'll see in the back here that it has what we were saying is the kickstand, so the device is able to be set down on a table as well. And then along the back side, there's a nice loudspeaker. This device is about the same size as the device shown below it on the left side as well, the SC tablet. The SC tablet is an Apple-based device. It is an iPad with a durable case around it, and the speaker is connected through Bluetooth. What's nice about this device is that it does come with a handle, and it has that kickstand as well. For someone or families that are Apple lovers, this is a nice choice because you're already familiar with that kind of Apple ecosphere, and you are familiar with how to pull up software, do updates, and things like that. The only thing to keep in mind is that we are not able to add that Gorilla Glass option on it because it's really more of an iPad with a case around it. On the right-hand side, you'll see our iSeries and our TD Pilot. These devices are made for eye tracking or eye gaze. So a user would be able to look at the device to make their selections rather than using their finger to point. This is a very useful tool for someone who might have difficulty pointing to objects, and it really is beneficial for them to use their eyes. In the top right corner, we have our Windows device, and in the bottom right corner, we have our Apple-based device, which once again is an Apple iPad Pro with a case around it with that same great eye tracker. So the last thing that we're going to talk about today is a little bit about the funding and how Tobii Dynavox makes the funding process easy for you. We have our team of experts that guide you through the entire funding process. This is important because the funding process for a speech generating device can be complicated, but our dedicated funding team is here to answer any questions that you may have. As far as insurance, fortunately in the US, most of our devices can be covered by Medicare, Medicaid, and private insurance, and our funding team will help support and navigate you along the way. Tobii Dynavox is contracted with over 300 insurances and with greater than 700 plans as well. No matter where you are in the journey to obtaining a solution for your client, we're here to provide and support you in whatever area that you need. So we're going to talk about a little bit about the process so you have an understanding of what it might look like if you were to get a device funded through your insurance. You'll see the first step in the process is to see a speech language pathologist who will evaluate you to see if a speech generating device will meet your communication needs. If a speech generating device is needed, your speech therapist may recommend trialing the equipment for further evaluation, or because it may be required by your insurance, they will be reviewing the request. If you are someone who lives in the Maryland area, I do know that Maryland Medicaid does not require a trial period, but it's something that we can always discuss if it is necessary. My role as the solutions consultant for Tobii Dyanvox would be, once you do have a speech therapist and they are interested in trialing a device, we can set up a time where I can either ship a trial device or I can come out and show you the devices. And that way, both you and the speech pathologist feel comfortable with not only the device, but the software to be able to make the best recommendation. You'll see in step 2, it is important that you see your physician for face-to-face visit within the last 6 months. In some cases, a video visit or a video and audio call will meet the criteria as well. During the visit, it's important that the doctor notes that he is treating you for a condition in which causes your speech difficulties. This is a major requirement for Medicare, and many other insurances follow suit. Once those 2 things are completed, the speech therapist will write the evaluation recommending the equipment needed, and then we'll submit that documentation to our funding team. All of this information can be done in an online portal, so we try to make it nice and easy for you, so we're not tracking down any documents. Our funding team reviews the documents they received against the insurance criteria. Your funding consultant will reach out for any revisions to documents submitted to meet the criteria, and will help reach out for any other missing information, such as a doctor prescription and chart notes from your physician. In step 4, our funding team will send all of the documentation to your insurance. During this process, our funding team will check in regularly with the insurance for the status of their request in hopes for an approval. If we see an approval, we may not be able to ship the equipment right away. If we are not contracted with the insurance, we must work on getting a single case agreement on the rates of the equipment. Once we obtain this, we can work on the shipping information. If for some reason your request is deferred, the funding consultant will work with the speech therapist to obtain any other information the insurance is requesting. If the request is denied, we have a dedicated appeals team who will work with you and your speech therapist to file an appeal on your behalf with the goal to overturn the denial and get an approval. Once we get an approval, we should be able to ship out your equipment. Our funding team will reach out to you before shipment to verify that we have the correct address and to review shipping details. Additionally, they may ask some additional questions that are required based on your insurance company. Once you receive your device, that's where my role, where I kind of step in again as well. So I'm here to support you during the trial and when you're looking at equipment, filling out the paperwork to be able to submit it to insurance, and then finally at the end. At the end, what I would do is, once the device is delivered to your house, we can set up a time either in person or virtually to go over the TD Snap software so you feel comfortable adding buttons, making any changes, and things like that. I'm going to leave my contact information up for about 30 seconds before we go into any questions and discussion, just so you can take a picture of it on your phone or write it down in case you have any questions. My role within Tobii Dyanvox is to cover most of the Maryland area. There's a small part within inside the Capital Beltway that is covered by a different solutions consultant. If you do not live in the Maryland area, we have solutions consultants all over the country. You can visit the Tobii Dyanvox website and type in your zip code under the Find Your Solutions Consultant tab, and that will give you the solutions consultant that you would need to email. But really, the first step is making sure that you do have the speech therapist who would be able to recommend and write the report for you. So I'm going to leave this information up for about 30 more seconds. And now we have a bit of time for any questions or discussion. I have not been able to monitor the chat, but I'm not sure if anything has come in that anyone has any questions on.
We have one question.
Yep.
Is there any evidence or data to illustrate the percentage of autistic kids after using AAC, if they speak verbally after using an AAC?
I do not have any data that I'm aware of. There may be data out there. Really, our role is to provide that support and then, you know, continue to use the device as a support in hopes that the ultimate goal would be that someone is a verbal communicator. But in the situation, every child is unique and different. So I'm not sure if there is any data as a whole that does show how many become verbal communicators. And that being said, I would just like to add that there are so many children with autism that do not have access to augmentative and alternative communication, whether it's because the school district or the family or the speech therapist isn't aware of it, or nobody ever goes through insurance to get a device funded. So there is such a need, and it's something that's very important, with the ultimate goal that one day each student would be a verbal communicator.
We have another related question. So prior to the presentation, they knew nothing about communication devices and a little bit about ABA in general. They can't say with certainty, but their son seems to be likely to acquire speech and language in the long run. For him to acquire a communication device, would it stand in the way of the journey of acquiring language and speech, or do you think it would expedite eventual acquisition of language and speech?
Absolutely. So if you think back to those, the myths that we had reviewed earlier, if I can go back to them. You'll see here that AAC can increase use of spoken language. We do have a handout that kind of dives further into this research, that if you reach out to me directly, I'm always happy to send you if you wanted to learn a little bit more about the research that goes into that. But you'll see here that, putting AAC in place earlier, it still is a model because even you are still hearing a voice output as well. So a lot of times users begin to repeat the messages that they are creating as well, which is a great support. But if you email me directly, I'm more than happy to point you in the direction of finding those research studies if you're interested.
All right, if anybody else has any other questions, please feel free to drop them in the Q&A, and we'll wait another minute here to see if anybody else has any questions. Another question about this presentation being shared. We can definitely share that we are recording this presentation. So please reach out to if you're part of Rural Beginnings, reach out to your CS and they will be able to share it with you. Or you can reach out to me. I'm e.hansen@ruralbeginnings.com, and I will be able to share the recording of this presentation. And Hansen is Hansen. Right, it doesn't seem to be any more questions because your presentation was so wonderful and gave everybody the information that they need. So our last slide here is just about our presentation for next month, which is going to be another great topic, social emotional learning strategies for parents. So if you would like to attend that, that is going to be on January 9th at 5 p.m. And that's going to be presented by Jessica Wilson, who is a BCBA and licensed behavior analyst. So I hope to see you all there in January.
Thank you.
We have one more question. I'm sorry. From a standpoint of insurance approval, is existing progress in acquiring speech a roadblock to getting approved for a device?
Insurance requires that there is a severe speech impairment. So that's kind of the main criteria that they look for. You know, any progress, I'm sure, can be taken into consideration, but when we do, when our funding team does review the reports, that's really what they're looking for, is that severe speech impairment. So it's up to the speech therapist to really decide if that fits, you know, if the user or the person being evaluated does fit that severe speech impairment, and that's what insurance is looking for. So, you know, as they're describing that severe speech impairment, they might look or they might describe it in a certain way, and that's what insurance is looking for. It's not like they would see every single progress note that you're submitting. And the report that we do submit to insurance does look a little bit different than a speech and language assessment. So even if you have had a speech and language assessment that states that progress to date, what an insurance is really looking for is an AAC assessment, and that asks about a little bit different information. So I think it would really depend on the report, but insurance is really looking for that severe speech diagnosis.
And that was our last question. So thank you everyone for joining, and I hope everyone has a great rest of their night. And thanks, Lindsay, for
Thank
presenting.
you.
Bye.
Bye.